everyone. We are live yet again, and this is my second Authors Chat of the Week, and this one's kind of a special one because we're going to be focusing on one of my co-host of the day's Kickstarter, because it's running for the next little bit, and as someone who's run Kickstarters for books before, I always love to help spread the news, because if you don't know anything about that, they're really fun for both the readers to get involved with, but as well as there's some really great benefits for authors themselves, and the reason why we run those kind of things. So we'll get into that in just a little bit, but on a personal note, I am paragraphs away from finishing my first draft of the project I'm working on, and I have a guest coming in this afternoon, probably almost right after this live, so I'm hoping when I get off I'll be able to write down those last paragraphs and finish my first draft. We shall see. We shall see. We'll see how snappy I am about this. But in the meantime, let's see if I can get my co-host up and running. Hello!
Hello, hello!
How are you? Sorry, I have to turn up my volume. I turned it down a little earlier.
I'm good. Congratulations on being so close. Almost there.
I am almost there. It was driving me crazy, and then I just realized, I looked at the time and I was like, I felt so bad, because usually I send a reminder text earlier in the day, but I've been so focused on finishing this last chapter that I totally blanked. So I'm glad you're on time, because...
Oh, no problem. I had so much fun last time, I couldn't wait to jump on.
That's great. And for anybody who's jumping on and doesn't know you, let's start off from the top and let you reintroduce yourself and what you write, and then we'll start focusing on your Kickstarter.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Zachary Jeffries. I write YA, urban fantasy with romance, paranormal romance, right in that sweet spot right there. I am a lifelong reader. I used to love reading like the Maggie Stiefvater books, and I love Holly Black and all that kind of stuff. And for a long time, it was really dumb. For a long time, hi Fleur. For a long time, I thought that I shouldn't like it because I'm a guy, and I thought it wasn't for me. And I finally got over myself and found a genre that I absolutely love. And I just love writing and reading about these emotionally vulnerable young people, teens that are dealing with teen feelings, that are very open about finding their place in the world and finding out who they are, while they battle forces of evil that are greater than they ever possibly imagined. So yeah, I love writing witches and angels and oracles and grim reapers and Greek fates and absolutely all of it. Just kitchen sink, throw them all in there. And they're trying to stop giant, nefarious, magical forces, but all they want to do is kiss.
Hey, and that's the thing, is like, I mean, you have to think about what did you want to do when you were a teenager? What were your values? What was your interest? And how it's changed. And so there is a lot of play when you're doing YA, and depending on if you're the younger side of YA, which I kind of write in one of my series, all the way to the older and branching into the new adult bracket, there's a lot of play with the, just the developmental aspects and the emotional aspects, and you're going through, the dreaded word puberty. And then you throw in the mix of anything fantasy, which I'll admit, I've never watched The Vampire Diaries, but it was always filmed around locations where I grew up. And so I know I'm like far older now, but I'm watching it, and it's kind of fun because, yes, you have the teenagers and they're doing all the supernatural stuff, but then they still have to try to graduate. And I'm like, how much time do you have to study when you're doing everything else? Just logistically, let me know.
And I love, I pride myself in kind of bringing a little of that like realism into it. Like, not everybody can get away from their house. Not everybody is allowed out after certain hours. Not everyone has a car. Some of them have homework due. Some of them have jobs. And adding those wrinkles and obstacles while they're trying to save the balance of life and death, while they're trying to stop a war between immortals and mankind, like, it adds some really fun levity to it.
Oh, definitely. And I do always appreciate when a series does remember that they're still teenagers and they do have the realism life beyond the supernatural fun stuff and the trauma and all that kind of stuff as well. But Yeah, because I feel like a lot of long-term, at least the TV shows, and I don't know if I think books may differ a little bit, but at least when you're watching some kind of teen drama or fantasy, romantasy, teenage show, they at some point just forget about it. They forget about the daily realisms and they just go deeper and deeper into, the magic system they're building and whatever the next big villain is. And that's all great, but then I still scratch my head. I'm like, how are they eligible to graduate?
Right? Right. I really appreciate, and I wrote it into a couple of books where you have the guy or girl that like has everything together in school. They're popular, they're making good grades, maybe they're involved in sports, but everyone knows them as like the it kid. But meanwhile, they just found out that magic exists and they're falling apart at the seams on the inside, and getting to balance that with the reader, with the characters' day-to-day lives. It's so much fun.
See, I cheated a little bit with my YA series because I did a Portal Fantasies, so I get to take a character from Earth, and you never see her life on Earth. You see her doing everything, so she doesn't have to worry about the school and everything. And in between the books, she does go home for stints, and she'll go through the normal drama and come back to the scenario, and it's kind of like a whoa scenario. I'm like, I was valuing this just a week ago, and now I'm back to facing the next big bad, but I don't have to worry about thinking about, oh yes, she has a class right now she should be at. Oh yes, she has.
Right,
how did she grade on geometry? I don't know, but those are kind of a different thing when you're doing a urban fantasy or romantasy that's set on our world, and there are those different kind of things you have to remember to make it again feel real. But we've been talking a lot of generalities, so let's talk about your fact that you have a Kickstarter running, and what book and series is that for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a series, Angels of New York State. This is book 1, Angel of Fate. This all takes place in Lockport, New York, and it starts with a young lady who inherits a pair of scissors from a grandmother she didn't know she had. The scissors don't cut hair, they don't cut paper, they don't cut her crafts, but when she holds them, she can start to see connections or threads coming out of people, and she comes to find out that she is one in a line of Greek fates. And then there's this guy, Kane Morrigan, hates being a teenager, can't wait to harvest his last soul and become immortal and just become a full-time Grim Reaper. But he needs help with his final assignment, and he needs to use her scissors to get it done. So when she asks, hey, are you here to train me? He says, yes. Yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
So that's Angel of Fate. Book 2 is Witches of Fate. These two are kind of secondary characters in the first book. The whole series is designed to pick up wherever you like. If you want to read the overarching story, you can start at the beginning and move on. But each one is a little self-contained, and they have their own external conflict that they kind of have to solve by getting together, by falling into the romance. So these are two witches stuck in a supernatural snowstorm. The roads are closed. There's no phone service. There's no electricity. Different factions of an ancient war of gods against mortals are coming to recruit, but all they want is to go on their first date. That's Witches of Fate. And then the third book, which is currently kickstarting, is Oracle of Fate, and it is about a young man who is a psychic who has only used his psychic ability to improve his batting average so he can get a baseball scholarship, and a fallen angel. The psychic has now seen that the apocalypse is coming and he has to stop it. Meanwhile, the fallen angel has to bring about the apocalypse, but oops, they catch feelings for each other.
Oh, oopsie daisies. No, I love that. And, okay, for anybody who's jumping on and is curious about Kickstarters and authors, I know, having run a couple myself, there are lots of different reasons why authors use them. Some are to help fund the launch of a book, because that is very expensive when you're indie. Others are to create special editions and these fancy, collectible items, etc., so on. But for you, is this your first Kickstarter, or have you done one before in one of your previous books?
This is my first Kickstarter. Long time listener, first time caller. I've been supporting Kickstarters for a long time, from movies, from people doing their graphic novels. I own a couple of tarot decks that were kickstarted and a board game. So I've always loved the platform, and never had what I considered the right project. This is book 3, so this series already has readers. This is my first series where I started getting messages and reviews saying, when's the next book? When's the next book?
Yes.
And that was just such a great feeling, where I was meeting a demand out there by writing more. I am wrapping it up in a trilogy, so I thought book 3 was a great way to have that project. So if you want, you can step in and you can get all 3 signed paperbacks, so you have the trilogy and you can just binge read the whole thing. If you want, again, they all stand alone. So if you want to just jump in at Oracle of Fate, you can get that ebook. You can get that paperback months before it released. And then also, the one thing that I'm very excited about is we're going to do a very special edition handmade omnibus. And it's going to be all 3 books plus a prequel novella. And this is handmade.
That's so cool.
I love this thing so much. This is like my favorite possession, and it doesn't even have the book in it yet. Right now, this is just a prop, but I love it so much. So Abbott's Hollow Studios makes this. They specialize in D&D bags and some cosplay, like gauntlets and crowns and vests and fun stuff. And I have seen him at some like Comic Cons, and he had the D&D guidebooks, like the big format guidebooks, with this as a slipcover. And I said, could you do this as a hardback? And he's like, yeah, I could. And this was forever ago that I started loving this. So I actually wrote it into the book series.
Yeah.
This young lady is holding on to a book, and that book is the Book of Fate. It is all the rules and regulations and how fatehood works and how destiny works in this world. And this is what the book looks like. According to lore, it is bound in human skin, and this is a real eye of the Grey sisters for all of the Greek myth nerds like Katharine and I out there. They're the 3 sisters. They showed up in Hercules. They only have one tongue between the 3 of them that they share. They have one ear and they have one eye, and they have to share this. And they're these immortal women. So their eye is bound in this. In the series, they are constantly tracking and finding this book. There is a library of forbidden knowledge that they have to breach to get to it, and all of that fun stuff. And so I was just pleased as punch to be able to write it in, describe it perfectly. And then I said, hey, buddy, do you want to make this for me? And he let me pick out the eye color, and he let me pick out the leather. And you can see, like, this is so rustic. Like, this is...
Yeah, the texture's fantastic.
It's amazing. And it smells like a new car. It's so lovely. And I mean, you can't tell me this isn't
in the morning.
right. Yeah, this is the personal library elevator right here. This is going to turn you from a book dragon to a book god right there.
I love that.
And it's been incredibly popular. I thought I was going to put only a handful available, and then immediately the first week, we've gotten up to 4 that people have picked up. And so I had to call my guy over on Etsy, and I'm like, hey, can I up it to 10? So we have 6 available right now. And I absolutely adore it. It's one of my favorite things that I have, and it doesn't even have all the bells and whistles that it will. We're going to put in graphics. We're going to put in an antique map of Lockport, New York, in the front and back, so you can follow along where everyone is. And it's just I've never been a huge collector of special editions, but I know that that's what the people in Kickstarter want, and I wanted to make that available. And then once I saw and fell in love with this, I thought it was really something special that backers could get.
That is so cool. I mean, it really is. And it's something that is definitely unique compared to a lot of other special editions because everybody's, coming up with such wonderful ideas. And I have, started to collect some, but that is very unique and really creepy. And I love it.
Right? I take it to my all my bookish events, and when I have tables at like local comic cons and things like that, I always have this out, and people love it, and kids just get lost like staring at it, and then they ask, you know. I'll tell them to have a staring contest with it, and if they win the staring contest, that they'll get the book for free. I tell kids that it's bound, that's a real human eye that's bound in human skin. They're like, really? I'm like, what do you think?
No. I mean, yes. Well, that will make the sale. Yes. Mm-hmm. No. That is so neat and very exciting. And how long is your Kickstarter running? Because it started a couple weeks ago or a week ago.
Yeah, it started on the 3rd, and we're ending on the 24th. So we're in the final week. It funded in 5 hours.
Fantastic.
So I was dipping my toe into this, and it wasn't anything that was going to break the bank if I didn't fund, because I really just wanted to learn how to do it from this end. And it's just been absolutely amazing. We're just north of $1,300. When we hit $1,500, we're going to do our next push reward. What's stretch goal? Thank you. The next stretch goal, and people are voting for that. So we're going to give the backers what they want on that. And it's just been amazing. It's just another way of connecting with people, making a more personal connection with readers, and giving readers a sense of ownership. Like, this isn't just, I'm not a guy in a cabin that never talks to people that's whiling away on a typewriter. I am out here talking with people. They're telling me what interests them in the books. They're telling me they want more books. They're picking what their next stretch goal is. And they're 100% a part of this journey.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that's very valuable because when someone feels that they're part of something, they become more invested and more invested. And so, general readership, I kind of did that with my previous Kickstarter where I had my readers group on Facebook, and I had them vote on the items that I would do for the build your own book box concept, where I put them as the optional stuff. And then so they voted on what they wanted, and I like that idea. I do realize I got a little carried away with my previous one where I had way too many options all over the board. And whenever I do another one, I'm going to streamline the options, but then have a plethora of build your own stuff behind, that people can add in. But
nice.
So keep it a little more focused. Things you learn. But there are so many ways you can do a Kickstarter, a bookish Kickstarter, and like any platform, when you start doing it repeatedly, especially if you do it regularly, it will notify your previous backers, and you start building a community, and people start following you. And there is a lot of good things that can come out of being part of the Kickstarter community, and you get some really cool exclusive stuff like a book of fate.
Right. No, it's been such a great learning experience, and there are so many people that are very generous with their knowledge, because you're right, there's a million ways of doing it, and there's no one single right way, but there are about a million wrong ways of doing it. And it's all about streamlining it, making it easier for the backers to decide, making it easier for the backers to gain what they want. I didn't want to have a million different tiers, but I definitely wanted some options for people. One of the ones that I'm really happy with, I've been very lucky, specifically with book one, that a lot of book clubs across the United States have picked this up, and I run into people on social media that recommend this from book clubs. And so there's a book club option. There's a get 5 paperbacks, and then I'll jump on a Zoom call or a video call and do a Q&A with your book club. And so we're just trying to meet readers where they are and get them the goodies they want.
I love that. I absolutely absolutely love it. And I know that you have a few days left for your Kickstarter. So that's, I'm hoping the best for you. I hope people continue to support, because there is that lull in the center of Kickstarters that usually most people deal with. And it's kind of nerve-wracking when you hit that lull. You're like, is this it?
Mm-hmm. It is. It's tough because it's such a high at the beginning when you first get it. And then for me, realizing that the goals were met, because some people may not know, if you do not meet your goals, then you don't get any of the money. So if there's someone that you're not sure about supporting, you throw the money out there, and if you're for some reason maybe worried that you're not going to wind up getting your reward, if they don't fund, you are not charged. But once you get over that hump, it's such a rush, it's such validation. And then you're right, then you kind of hit a lull and you're just kind of waiting, and you were just so used to every time you click on Kickstarter seeing a fun new number pop up. So it's a lot of hurry up and waiting, but again, it's been great, and just connecting with readers that I hadn't connected with as people are voting for their favorite stretch goals and telling me what they like about it. It's been so much fun.
And now you've learned so much that the next time you can apply it and, know what works, what didn't. And again, hopefully continue like anything with indie publishing and self-publishing, or even hybridizing. You live, you learn, hopefully you improve.
Right. Absolutely. This is definitely going to be folded into my launch plans moving forward. My next book that I will be releasing is also an end of series. And I really enjoyed being able to offer people just the book bundle, just like grab the whole series, read it from start to finish. Because I know there are so many readers out there that prefer not to start unless they know that all the books are available. And so this is a really good way to meet those readers for the first time and say, get the whole shebang, like do it to it. Get yourself a block of my books, like your beautiful blocks of books up here. Just give me that chunk of your bookshelf at home and I'll fill it up.
Yes, and that's one thing I heard before, and it's one of the reasons why a couple of my Kickstarters struggle a little bit, because what the recommended thing is, if you're starting a series or you're doing a standalone, they're great. If you're ending a series, they're great. If you're doing it in between, that's a little harder to swing, because people are like, well, if I get all these, am I going to be able to get the rest? Or when am I going to expect it? And they don't know. But people are more like to back if it's new and it's the first time, or again, if it's a wrap up and they can get everything.
Yeah, totally. There's so many little tricky little obstacles that you can run into. I do have to name drop Fleur de Villainy. Fleur de Villainy kind of took me under her wing. She is a Kickstarter expert, and she and I have been swapping our audiences and telling each other about each other's stuff. And she is very organized, and she has a book 2 up, and she has somehow figured out, she has cracked the code. And she has a book 2. She didn't put it out for the release. She put it out for the special edition. And then so many of her tiers are about either both books or starting with book 1. And that's really fun to support. And I mean, talk about stretch goals. She has the price of a small new car is now what her fundraising is at. And she's just doing absolutely amazing stuff. So big shout out to Fleur de Villainy.
That's great. And those when I hear people doing that well, and it's inspiring, because again, for all of us, anything helps. And when you see such a higher level of success, it's like, oh, wow, we can do it, but we can do it and do it fantastically well. And so, one day I hope that we both achieve that level of success.
Absolutely. You let me know. We'll cross promote. I'll share you in my updates, and vice versa. I will be more than happy to back one of your projects.
I love that. And you were saying that in moving forward, so what is your next goal? You're going to have this successful Kickstarter. We're going to see how far it goes towards the end of the month. what's your next big bookish goal after that? Because I know you said you have plans for another Kickstarter down the line, but what is your next bookish goal?
My next bookish goal, I am finishing off some series. So I'm going to finish off some cereal boxes before I open the next one for the prize, I think. I have like you, I do dabble in some lower YA. So I have a lower YA series, and I'm going to finish off that series with a book 5. It is written, but man, first drafts are rough and rough drafts are first. So I am trying to clean up that mess right now. That is going up, and I have been working for about 2 years on a tie-in card game that ties into my sci-fi YA series. It's pretty much a couple of card decks, and you play. Hey, Jeremy, and you play hide and seek with card decks.
I love
It's been a lot of fun, and I know a couple of different like gaming groups that get together for board games every week, every other week, every month. And it's been a lot of fun developing it, and it really ties in with my Hide and Seek Chronicles, a sci-fi hide and seek book series that I have. And so I'm just really excited to work on that. So I think on the horizon is finishing up the Hide and Seek Chronicles series, and then probably doing 2 Kickstarters in a row for that, for book 5, as well as for the tie-in card game.
I love that. And that is fantastic, because I do think I practically know that there is such a huge overlap between the bookish community and the gamer of various sorts community. And when you really talk about it, it makes sense. And to make one be able to flow into the other or vice versa, that's fantastic. For my YA series, I have started creating custom-made D&D little replicas, and with like special character sheets and subclasses and stuff like that, because that series just is so wild and fun with so many different characters that it works very well. And the same thing as for my recent Kickstarter. One of the things I did was, in that book, there was a card game that was actually a rather big theme. I was like, yes, I was inspired by Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a child. So it definitely has a card game aspect. And one of the things that a lot of the backers got were these starter packs. Now, the starter packs didn't have images in it, because that goes back to the story and also finances. But I always thought it would be cool. It's like, well, if it gets, really popular, wouldn't it be cool to actually make the full game with like all the images and everything? And that'd be so much fun. So
yeah,
you
it's
let me know how this goes for you.
Oh, totally. And I feel like it's just another way of rewarding the people that are deep diving, the people that are seriously connecting, whether it's reading books or playing the games. Because if someone gets wicked into the games, then maybe they'll pick up the book and be like, oh,
exactly,
this detail connects to this over here. And it's just another way of rewarding people, a way of saying thank you for giving me some time and brain space to play in this world that I set up. And here's a little serotonin boost when you see this connection.
Yeah, and I've seen again, a lot of these TTRPG overlaps where people have been creating one-shots based in their fantasy worlds and stuff like that. So who knows, the gaming overlap, and again, someone may fall in love with one and be really interested in the other. So you can win people over theoretically from your game to your book series and vice versa. And I just think that's fun. Plus, why not immerse yourself in your realms and your worlds and your characters as much as possible? Because, again, why not?
Oh, 100%. Like, yeah, I don't think some people can appreciate how much writers step out of reality to live in this fake reality just to make it more real. It's the whole iceberg thing. You see the top of the iceberg, but the iceberg is half a mile deep. That's what happens when you walk in. Like, I know the 50-year history of how fates have worked in Lockport and how all these magical beings ended up in Lockport, New York. You get to start it this year and you get to start this much. So might as well find a way, because all the homework is done, all the research and all the backstory exists. It's there. Come and join, dive in.
Yeah. And I just had this vision of an author living in the pseudo. It's kind of, I feel like this is me half the time, living in your, manufactured reality. You open the door to the real world. You're like, nope, close the door and go back and do
No, I'm going to do a couple more chapters, guys. It's fine.
Yeah,
you guys go on without me.
For like the rest of the day.
Yeah. No, I'd much rather deal with the apocalypse and the flying horses causing the end of the world than that trash fire that you guys have going right now.
That is so much fun. I love that. And that's so cool. Now, for your special edition, that is just mind-blowing for me, and I don't know if everybody who's all here and who's seen it or not, but for that fantastic piece of art already, and you were talking about embedding a map, and of course it's going to be a compilation of your books. Are you doing anything else, or is that the elevation? Because I've seen people go, all kind of extremes with embedded images and, sprayed edges and, the jam. But, just looking at that, I feel like that in itself is worth gold.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. I love it as it is. I have a prequel novella that is the story of a young man finding out that he is a Grim Reaper and meeting a Greek immortal that has hunted him down. That is currently my reader magnet. If you jump on my website, if you follow the Schminks and my Schmayo, you can get that novella for free. It's never been printed, and I'm not planning on printing it, except it's going to be a part of this omnibus. So you're going to get a trilogy and then a prequel novella. Like I said, we are going to have like real antique maps that I'm super excited about. I also have some formatting and fun chapter headings. Instead of more traditional chapters, this has, there are 3 points of view in every book. There is each of the love interests, and then the antagonist gets smaller points of view added. And so we have graphics for all of those that will be in there. And then if we can get to one more stretch goal, so if we can get to 2,000, the idea for that stretch goal is letting people choose either upgrading everything to hardbacks or upgrading everything to what I'm calling designed edges, because I've not decided between getting them printed, because you can kind of do some funky different things with printed edges, or something like a sprayed edge, either with a design or just gold. I think with this beautiful gold eye and then like a really nice gold here, I think that would be lovely.
It'll bring its eye out.
Right? It'll make the eye pop. That's just more fun stuff. And let's see, we already hit the stretch goal of, I'm trying to think of what the goals we got. Oh, character art. So everyone's getting character art. I also have, I don't have them handy. I hand make tarot card bookmarks, and everyone's getting those. And it's almost kind of like a reading, because you will get one that is specific to you. So it's like a built-in reading.
I love that.
And then, the graphics, all of the chapter and point of view heading graphics, and all of that is all brand new, and thanks to hitting these Kickstarter goals.
That is so neat. And again, it's so exciting when you start getting into this world of Kickstarter, because it allows you to be able to produce things that outside of that it'd be really hard to afford or have the right amount of excuse to go and invest your time and effort and energy to do when you have so many other things you have to do.
Right? Agreed. Completely.
So let me ask you, because if this platform is nice, and we shall see if it is, I will repost our chat at a later date. It'll maybe after your Kickstarter runs. So if anybody's listening and is interested in you and your books, where can people get your work? Are you wide? Do you sell direct? Are you exclusive through Amazon? Where can people get them post Kickstarter?
Yeah, so my ebooks are exclusive through Amazon, which means if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, then you can read all the books on Kindle Unlimited. Outside of that, if you have any place that you particularly like to buy your books, that's where you can order my books. If you have a mom and pop brick and mortar bookstore, which I absolutely love, I love supporting them. I have a third mortgage on my house, keeping the one in business over by me with books for my wife, my daughter, and I. Then please order any of the Angels of New York State series, Angel of Fate, Witches of Fate, and soon to be Oracle of Fate. You can get all of those books wherever you like to order books, from an online retailer or from a brick and mortar.
That's great. And yeah, that's one of my goals I keep parroting myself is to try to get my ebooks, audiobooks, and then eventually the physical books on a wider availability. So because there are so many people who they don't use KU, maybe they don't like Zon, but they still want to read the books, and I want to be able to reach those readers in the future. So it's always nice to hear when people are wide. So when people are like, hey, do you have any recommendations? I'm like, well, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Check for this.
Yeah, I think the paranormal romance aspect of Angels of New York State really, I feel, lends itself to KU. But I am slowly moving some of my other books wide, dipping my toe in bit by bit. I really like to learn about platforms before jumping in them. One of the reasons why I'm doing this Kickstarter and why I took 2 classes and did a ton of sharing of organizational materials and stuff like that. So I would eventually love to see a lot of my stuff going wide. And to be honest, just for the Kickstarter, I think for the Hide and Seek Chronicles, I think they might be going wide before that Kickstarter goes, just so I can then use all of those ebooks as different tier levels or add-ons.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things you have to also consider. If anybody doesn't know, if you're a Kindle Unlimited person, you can't share your books anywhere else. So you can't distribute them through Kickstarters. You can't, as soon as they're published. You can do it beforehand, but then that's that weird loophole. And if you have one in a series, that you can do. But if you're a KU, you can't do that. Once you're wide, you have that ability if you so choose. Both give you benefits, different kinds.
And that's one of the reasons why Oracle of Fate, which is book 3 in the Angels of New York State trilogy, Oracle of Fate is not going to release until a couple of months after the Kickstarter backers get their rewards. So that way, if you want, again, you can read them in any order. If you just want the Oracle of Fate ebook, we got you. We're going to send you the Oracle of Fate ebook, and then you're going to get to read it months before anyone can read it on KU. If you want the paperback, you get it, and it's going to be months before any retailer has it available for order.
Yeah, and again, those perks of being the first to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get to know how the whole thing ends. Because again, each one does follow one specific couple. In Oracle of Fate, it is an oracle or a psychic and a fallen angel. And you get to find out what their story is like, kind of what their internal journey is, how they have to fall in love to beat the external conflict. But on top of that, there is a larger conflict that has been building for a prequel and 2 other books. And if you want to find out how it all comes to a head, how the apocalypse starts in Lockport, New York, if you want to find that out and how it is or is not thwarted, then jump on Kickstarter, back for as little as, I think, $7 is going to get you the ebook, and you can go ahead and read the end and jump to the end and find out what happens. I do want to also say, if you just want to follow along on the journey, like when I first knew that I wanted to do a Kickstarter, I started following Kickstarters for $1.
It's smart.
And if you follow them for $1, you get all the updates. You get to see how it goes. You get to read through all of the updates. And anything that's exclusive to backers, and you can take a look and kind of get a kind of a behind the scenes vibe of how it goes. If you want to kick that up just one more notch and get yourself in the special thanks of this book, then you can back it for $2. For $2, you're going to get all of those behind the scenes fun things, all the updates, all the emails, and on top of that, we'll throw your name in the front or back of the book, that's not decided yet, for special thanks.
That's cool. I love that. And I do think people really do enjoy seeing their name in print. And so that's always nice when people do offer tiers or options that way, saying, hey, if you reach this level, you'll be printed in this book for this run. It's really cool.
And I do have I don't even know where this word came from. Tuckerization. Are you familiar with Tuckerization? Tuckerization is, I think it's specific to Kickstarter. You can name a character. One of the tiers, you can name a character. I had 2 characters that are just kind of have these placeholder names in my draft right now. And one of them, one Tuckerization has been claimed. But there is one still out there. So if you ever dreamed of being unalived in the apocalypse in Lockport, New York, then now's your chance. Or if you maybe have a horrible boss or a terrible ex and you wanted to see them unalived in the apocalypse in Lockport, New York, now's your chance.
Some people may think this is weird, but it's true, because I've actually had someone approach me, an acquaintance, and she at one point was like, I want you to write me into one of your stories so you can kill me. And I was just like, okay, what? I have never figured out the right story for it, but I told her, I was like, if it ever happens and it just feels right, I promise I'll put you in so I can unalive you in a book. And she was like, yes. And I was like, okay, whatever makes your day.
Let's do it, because I've borrowed some names from real life before, and those people probably wouldn't have appreciated it. But it's my world.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. And I will admit, though predominantly most of my characters are not based in any way, shape, or form on anybody else, there was a person who broke one of my friend's hearts, and I was like, you're going down in one of my books. Exactly.
I will break you.
So I loosely
everything I couldn't
it,
do in real life.
Like, it satisfied me so much, and I was like, oh, that was so beautiful. That's all I wanted. That's all I needed. Yes.
Nice. I love it. I'm really looking forward to what the backer who has picked Tuckerization, what name that person gives me. And I almost hope that I get the backstory, that I get a, like, hey, I'm giving you the name of my old boss, or hey, I'm throwing this out there.
And I see some comments popping up. I don't know if you can see them all or not, but there's one from Fenwick Bookstore, hopefully I pronounced that right, and was asking if we live near them. I unfortunately am in and around the Atlanta area, so I'm in Georgia. So I'm a little farther away. If I ever make it your way, I will be more than happy to be an author who can host anything, because I love all that. But I'm not close to you.
And I am in the south side of Chicago now, but I will say I am from Georgia, Katharine, and I would like to tell you about. We'll take this to the DMs, but there is a bookish event that I go to every spring, and it is down in Conyers, and it is extremely good. It is a very solid bookish event. So I will touch base with you on that as well.
Okay, because I was going to say, I don't know if I don't know of one in Conyers, but now I have to know. Now, because I am getting into attending more and more conventions and book festivals and things like that, and serving as panelist as well as selling my books and just being, there to network with readers and authors and illustrators and et cetera, so on. And those are a lot of fun. And there are a good number in and around Georgia, my area, Georgia, so I'm fortunate that way, but I always love to learn more.
Yeah, and I'm not going to remember. Oh man, I probably shouldn't have even brought it up. There is an author, a traditional author, who just went huge 2 years ago, and it is like historical fantasy romance, and I can literally even see it's called like Ruthless Vows or something like that. The cover of it has like typesetting, like old round typewriter buttons. And she has blown up, and I think that she got a movie deal and all that. And 2 years ago, she was the guest of honor at this event. So we'll definitely touch base. Do you mind if I answer a question from the chat?
Yes.
Yeah, so I am from Chicago. I chose Lockport, New York. This is actually a lot of fun. So I don't mean to put anyone on the spot or start any beef, but I happen to have the greatest readership on the planet. I have the best readers. They have named themselves the Zedheads. We have a very awesome interactive newsletter that goes out twice a month. And I would track who was opening my emails from where. And Lockport, New York had a pretty big plurality for a long time. I had a lot of people opening emails from Lockport, New York. And my wife's family is pretty much a hop, skip, and a jump from Lockport, New York. So we went out to visit, and I had that bug in my mind that I'm big in Lockport. So I was like, hey, can we drive through Lockport, New York? And it's a beautiful, beautiful city. It is right on the border of being a city and a town, and the layout is very easy to picture. There's a hill, there's a canal, and at the other end of the canal is the end of the city, and the rich people live on the top of the hill, and it's just very easily laid out. There's all this industrial stuff down along the canal, and the locks, where the locks are, is where the main street of the city is. And it's just so easily laid out, and it's pretty easy to picture. And I said, this is the kind of town that I could easily describe fairly easily, and then the reader would be able to track what is going on where. So yeah, I had a lot of fun writing that there, and especially in Witches of Fate, when no one can drive and no one has phones and no one has electricity. They're literally walking everywhere, and that's a whole lot of fun to put a bunch of people on their feet in the middle of a giant blizzard, walking uphill across town, trying not to fall in the canals and all of that fun stuff.
That is really cool. And if you have not done a book signing or some kind of physical event there, you probably should, because I know a lot of towns get a kick out of someone who writes about them and not just always the big iconic cities. And so, you never know, you might want to consider that if you haven't done so yet.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to, every once in a while, well, for each book, I have sent press releases to like some of the local newspapers, and very specifically, I don't know why it matters to me so much, but I really want to get into that high school newspaper. I want to get a feature about this YA series into a high school newspaper so bad. But yeah, that's definitely the plan one day. There's a pretty big sci-fi fantasy literary convention that the name of it escapes me. It might be Buffalo Con, but that's in Buffalo, New York, and that's 25 minutes away. So I am looking into doing that next year, and I would probably try to book a signing at the same time.
I like that. And I don't know why this just popped in my head, because weird ideas always pop in my head, and I never attempt most of them. But if someone, maybe you, writes some kind of templated little short story, and then you go to a signing and then do a raffle where everybody submits their name, and whoever wins the raffle, their name will be like the main character, or like you said, one of the characters in this one, and then whoever signs up on your list, when you add insert name, you send them out this custom done short story based on your world.
Oh, nice. That's not bad. Yeah, have them, they're walking down the street, they're checking the mail in their home in Lockport, New York, and then suddenly death rides a pale horse right by them.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah, something, just, again, another random idea that pops in my head that, again, I will probably never even attempt, but throwing it out there for someone else. Now, I do see a comment saying, the Steampunk Wordsmith said, my Z105, hopefully that's the way you want to say it, or 105 series, started in Rhode Island because the plague started on Plum Island. See, people like putting like the little towns or smaller areas, or even bigger areas in there. I know Atlanta pops in a lot of them, outside of it. So I always know whenever there's one of those big apocalyptic stories, I'm like, it's okay. I'm that radius. I'm never going to survive. It's summon that doom, the radius of doom for anything.
Right. And then I always read, it's Alona Andrews, the Kate Daniels stories. Those are Atlanta based, I believe.
I don't think I've read those, so I will take your word on it.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun, and she's always driving around and getting stuck in Atlanta traffic, and I'm like, the realism.
Yeah, that one's true. That one's true. My poor husband came over here recently in the past few years. He moved from New Orleans, where he's from, back to Georgia, where I'm from, and he's now understanding the hate of Atlanta traffic.
The traffic is real.
I try to avoid it as much as possible, but we're still close enough that sometimes it's unavoidable. And if you're doing events in city, it's par for the course. But before, actually, because the hour is running by, and I do want to make sure, we mentioned where we can find your books. But again, if I'm repurposing this later and anybody who's here is interested now, where can people find and follow you outside of Book Talk? You mentioned a newsletter. Do you have a website, other socials, those kind of things? Where can people find and follow you and keep in the know of all your projects?
Yeah, the best place to keep in the know is jeffriesbooks.com. If you jump on jeffriesbooks.com, it's going to say, hey, do you want to know what happens when the 16-year-old kid tries out for the basketball team, doesn't make it, but does find out that he is a Grim Reaper? You can sign up there and start with that novella and kind of test drive the words, like see if my stories are for you, give you a little taste, see if you want to follow along, see if you want to keep reading that series. That's jeffriesbooks.com. I am also... most places. I am Zachary Jeffries on Facebook and on Instagram, and I am Jeffries Books here. Jeffries Books is my, I guess you could call it, oh, hey guys, I guess you could call it my imprint. I am incorporated as Jeffries Books, and I write under a couple of different pen names right there. So, but jeffriesbooks.com is the place to go. And you can, like I said, start you off with a free novella of a Greek immortal after thousands of years on Earth, tracking down a young Grim Reaper for nefarious purposes. And see if you like what you read, and you can continue with that story. You can continue with other stories. I have a lovely magical unalive mystery that is very Halloween-y, very witchy, very spooky, called The Unseen Curse. And that one is perfect for this time of year. If it's not too hot where you are, you can cozy up in a blanket in a fireplace and read all about that fun and spooky, mysterious stuff, The Unseen Curse, as well as, Angels of New York State. That is on Kickstarter right now for the next couple of days. Oracle of Fate is book 3. It finishes out the series, but you can read it in any order. You can start with Oracle of Fate. You can also jump on that Kickstarter and get all 3 books and just tell your family to leave you alone for a weekend and read 3 books.
I love that. And I also see Andrew commenting that can't wait to see you next year in Green Bay. So again, you're fierce fandom. I love it.
All over the place. Yeah, I'll be in Green Bay for PACA and the readers. And yeah, again, I am looking into getting into, I want to say it's called Buffalo Con in Buffalo, New York, and hopefully show them some regional love, or hopefully not get chased out of town for bringing the apocalypse to their neighborhood.
That's fantastic. And again, conventions, book fest, all those kind of things, they're so much fun to attend. And I'm getting a kick out of going to more and more of them. And maybe one day we will be at the same ones together.
Oh, that would love. And I am going to absolutely message you on this. And if it weren't for these fun conventions and comic stuff, I would never find Abbott's Hollow Studio that makes these beauties right here and connect with them in a way of giving this amazing addition to the world and some awesome home libraries that it's going to wind up in.
That is so cool. I mean, that's one that deserves a book stand display. So it's always showing outward on a bookshelf, because that is so neat. Absolutely so neat. I do have one question for you before we'll wrap up with your Kickstarter one more time. But because you mentioned that you write under pen names, do you find great benefit? Because I know there are authors like myself, which I always wonder, looking back, if it would have been a smart move to have done a pen name, because I have so many different various genres and age brackets in fantasy, but I chose to just do one. Other people split it up with pen names because it just helps with marketing and focusing, on your readership. So do you find much of a benefit for having multiple pen names? Is it a lot of work? How is your experience with that, since you write multiple series?
I do like having different pen names. Well, first of all, my last name, my real legal last name, is a losing hand of Scrabble. No one would be able to hear it and know how to spell it and look it up. So my discoverability would have been really, really far down. But I write under Z Jeffries and Zachary Jeffries. My younger stuff, which is sci-fi, is Z Jeffries. And then my YA and older stuff is Zachary Jeffries. 2020 hindsight, I would have switched those just to get initials, and so maybe people wouldn't automatically understand that I am a guy or that I am masculine trying to write stories with heavy romance in it, non-spicy, but romance is the crux of these books. But I really enjoy it because since I do write middle grade and YA, I do have some readers out there that are as young as 9, and they get a gift certificate to their favorite bookstore, and they get a gift card for their birthday, and they can go up, and I am happy with them going up and saying, what's another Z Jeffries book? And them picking that out and getting something that's going to work for them. Just the same as if I have someone who just adores the intersection of contemporary romance and fantastical mythological beings, that they can say, I can pick up any Zachary Jeffries book, and that's going to be for me. And I do like keeping them separate, and hopefully building some trust and confidence in a reader that they can read that one pen name's entire canon, and all of those books will be appropriate and interesting.
No, and I do love that idea, because again, for people who do my route, it gets a little complicated trying to explain, these are for the younger YA, these are for the adults, these are the fun, light, and bright fantasy, these are the dark and gritty, and I'm just like, that's a lot of explaining every time someone asks. But that's why people choose the pen name route, and some people go as far as having separate newsletters and websites, and I'm like,
it can get complicated.
It's so much work. Oh my goodness! But kudos to you, and that is, I think, is a smart move for a lot of people to do. And yeah, it's so exciting. But because we are right at the end of the hour, and I actually have a guest arriving very, very soon for the weekend, I will turn it for everybody who's listening in. If there's any questions you have or any topics you wanted us to cover that we haven't, please let us know now. And the same thing for you, Zachary, if there's anything else you want to cover. And if not, again, remind anybody who's jumped on recently about your Kickstarter.
Yeah, so I have a Kickstarter for Oracle of Fate. It is book 3 in the Angels of New York State series, following mythological teens as they fight off the apocalypse and other magical foes. You can read them in any order. If you want to jump on Kickstarter and get all 3 signed paperbacks, you can do it. If you want to jump on Kickstarter and only get the Oracle of Fate book, you can do that and you won't be too lost. Or if you want to get all 3 of them bound together in this super special edition, handmade leather inset glass eye, it's going to have an antique map and all fun kind of graphics that's there. Or if you just want to kind of dip your toes in and see if these books are for you, visit jeffriesbooks.com and you can get a prequel novella to kind of introduce you to the series and get you used to my characters, my bizarre sense of humor, my voice, and all the fun that happens when teens who just want to kiss get stuck fighting giant magical enemies.
I do need to work on my pitches because I hear someone like you just like, bang, that is fantastic. And that is a talent in and among itself, which I wish I had. And, and there you go. I see someone chiming in. Zach, I'm going to be doing my video today with a heart. So again, you have a lot of supporters, it sounds like, and that is fantastic. And I really do hope your Kickstarter just knocks it out of the ballpark. Usually in the last few days, because you know, just when you start saying you only have so much time to back it, that's when you'll get a couple more people just jumping on like, wait, I do want to, I'm ready. And I really do hope it's a smashing success.
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. And thank you for sharing this platform with me. I absolutely love all of your interviews and your questions of the day. And so if there's anyone that is not already following you, please absolutely follow Katharine and make sure that you catch these lives and answer those all those fun questions of the day.
Yeah, they get a little weird sometimes, especially when I'm like, I don't want to ask the same 5 things. So let me go out of the ballpark and come up with like my recent one. What villain would you think would be the worst one to get the hero's iconic magical weapon or whatever? And some of them have been very interesting.
Nice. Yeah, readers will surprise you, man. They're the best.
Oh yeah, I love it. But thank you for coming and hanging out today. And I do have to run, but if you ever want to do, again, another one of these, I plan them in advance. And yeah, we'll talk behind the scenes about this Georgia event.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for tuning in, guys.